Welcome to the show. Hey, got a quick question for you. If I was to ask you where the third ranked most beautiful beach in the world is, where would you think that is? I'll give you a minute. You got an answer? Well, hang on to that because that's where today's guest likes to spend a lot of his time. And before we get into all that, I got a handful of stuff I need to talk to you guys about. First of all, happy Mom's Day to everybody out there. Thanks for all you do and continue to do. And of course to Ma Blau, who looks down at us from heaven every day. Love and miss you. Second is been putting this podcast out on every platform that I can get it available to make it easy listening to everybody and accessible. And in return, the response has been amazing. It's crazy, the response I've been getting, and thanks to everybody for tuning in and the new listeners. But I do get asked why I call this the kitchen table, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick recap why. Growing up, most of my time was spent at the kitchen table, and that was conversations, stories, lessons. Friends and family come over and visit. Everybody piles in the kitchen, standing room only, while every other room is empty. Maybe it's just my mom and I hanging out, or my dad and I hanging out. It's at the kitchen table. So I invite people to come over. Yep, we sit at the kitchen table across from one another and have a conversation. It's 100% organic, nothing is scripted, and nothing's edited. So if you listen to these, you'll hear some kind of funny things happen, but that's the whole point. Second, trying to build up my YouTube page, and I would love for y'all to help me out. Go over to YouTube, Walt's Kitchen Table, and underneath my smiling mug, if you hit that big red word that says subscribe, I would much appreciate it. And right before this episode was posted, landed on iTunes and Google Play, so that gives you a little more accessibility to the show. And again, I can't thank you all enough for the support I've been getting. So let's on to the show. Well, almost. Got to throw out some love to my boy Rishi. Been supporting the show since day one, and I've been using this product for going on 4 years now. First started out with the rub. I kick the shit out of myself physically. I do a lot of working out in my job and, the gym and physical activities. The rub is amazing for sore joints and muscles. Check it out. And if you have not jumped on this CBD train yet, man, you got to do it. This stuff is amazing. What you get from it is endless. I lost my words, but we're just going to keep going. The immediate benefit you get from it is a good night's sleep. I believe a good night's sleep will cure what ails you. And you think you sleep good now? Check out this stuff. Next level. So jump over to liverishi.com, use the code word table, and look at the love that Rishi and I are throwing your way. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. So check it out, liverishi.com, CBD. I use the tincture oil. Take a dropper of that. Whew. Good stuff. Can't go wrong. Check it out. So on to the show now. Welcome to Walt's Kitchen Table, where I feature captivating stories from fascinating people. And fascinating is one word I would use for today's guest, Marc Mackin. He's a culture creator, and we talk about some really cool stuff. I got goosebumps right now from just talking about this guy. He's just super fascinating. Time well spent with this dude. Some of the things we talk about: autonomous vehicles. How about scuba diving? Deliveries from Amazon trucks and drones. Amazing conversation. Turtles hatching from the third most beautiful beach in the world. Tobacco kingpins. I use the word kingpins. We did not say kingpins. I said kingpins because you'll understand once you hear it. Trust me. How about the ingredients of cough syrup from way back in the day? Phew, that's crazy. So let's get to it. But yep, thanks for coming over. We are recording, so you know we have been.
Terrific.
Like, give you an idea. Where do you live?
I live in Kinnelon.
Kinnelon. What are they famous for?
Francis Kinney was a guy who had a 40% market share on cigarettes in the 1800s. He and his brother founded the Kinney Brothers Tobacco Company, and it wound up becoming part of American Tobacco around 1900. They merged. At some point, the whole thing had like an 80% market share of the cigarette business in the United States.
So he had 40%, him and his family,
Right.
I assume, right?
Right.
I mean, and then
And
when they merged
with like 4 other companies
to
they
get
all
80%.
Yeah, you think about it. It's like the
Holy
days of the
shit.
Rockefellers. They created a monopoly with cigarettes, and so it's a fascinating story. But that's where Kinnelon got its name. Is Francis Kinney was living in the city, and he wanted to find a place up in the woods to go do some fish and game and hunting and
No shit.
so he built himself a beautiful place. You know, he called it the cottage, kind of like a Westport cottage.
Yeah,
20,000 square feet on a lake.
Cottage, 20,000
Yeah.
square feet cottage.
And he called his estate Kinnelon.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
where the name
okay.
came from. Then they gave that, it was actually part of Pequannock way back in the day.
Okay.
And they redrew the lines some around 1922 and incorporated the town.
So it's
And
all
so that's-
together.
Yeah, but I grew up in Pequannock, and I didn't venture all that far, about 10 miles up the hill.
Yeah.
But I love it because we live in the woods. You know, I have everything walking through my property: bear, turkeys,
Really?
raccoons, fox. Yeah.
So you don't have to buy a turkey for Thanksgiving. You pluck one as it walks by your backyard.
I don't know that I'd want to grab one of those boys.
Ooh, yeah,
They'll stand right out in the middle of the road and just yell at you if you
yeah.
piss them off.
Well, there's some bunch of stuff for that in the news right now, isn't there? With turkeys.
Oh yeah,
around
there
here?
was a group of them down in someplace in southern Jersey. I think they were just attacking the town. It's like 50 or 60 turkeys.
Just causing havoc, huh?
Yeah, my daughter teaches.
Rebellion.
My daughter teaches up in Washington Township, and on the road that she's on, Van Emberg Avenue, they actually have a turkey crossing sign with a graphic. And there is a group of turkeys that have become quite famous there because they run the town. They walk out on the road when they feel like it, and there were like 3 of them. Now there's 5. So
Just growing, huh?
Yes, yeah, gangs in suburbia.
Yeah, right? What color they wear.
Out
right?
our way, it's turkeys.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, though, go back to the cigarette thing.
Hmm.
Was he a at that time, was he multi-generation with the tobacco?
His father. Yeah,
Okay.
this is like, I love ancestry. I've done a lot of my own. I've done other people's families and stuff, and I love hearing these kind of stories.
Yeah,
come
me
up.
too.
I watched a series called "The Men Who Built America," and I think it was History Channel, but it's on Amazon Prime now.
Okay.
Fantastic program, like maybe 8 or 9 episodes, and it details the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, J.P. Morgan, and how all these guys just kind of like stacked one on top of the other, and they just were at this convergence where the country was about to just kind of explode into the Industrial Revolution. But they were the revolution. Yeah.
Well,
So anyway,
what was it like 1912 or something? What was the Industrial Revolution? Wasn't it early, like 1910, 1912?
yeah, it probably is like more turn of the century. It really was kind
Closer
of
to-
booming by the time you hit 1912, 15. Of course, then you bring in World War One.
Right,
and then,
right.
Yeah, the industrialization because of the war.
So you would say
But you
right
had
at the turn of
factories.
right at the turn of the century, you would say that it was the Industrial Revolution?
Yeah.
To start,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
to start.
Historians, I'm sure, would correct me.
Yeah, that's the best part about this. We don't get to hear it unless they blow up my comment feed, but that's all good too.
Let the comments come.
Yeah, absolutely. So this guy here, Kinnell,
Kinney. Francis Kinney.
Francis Kinney. Was he already in the cigarette business?
So-
Or his family was, or did he start it?
No, his father was a prominent attorney, and I found a newspaper article from the 1800s that said that when he passed, his estate was worth something like $12 million.
Back,
So right. We're talking before 1900. So they came from money, but the two brothers, Abbott and Francis, decided to get into the cigarette business. And we're talking about like at the founding times. These guys invented, production cigarette making.
like an
they went
assembly line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think they had a patent on one of the machines that rolled cigarettes. You think about what that was worth.
Yeah, holy man.
These were extremely wealthy people. And he really just found the hills of New Jersey looking for a place to go hang out.
Yep. And he blew up that industry and then saw other people doing it and decided to jump in, throw their lot in together. And
I think he was more one of the founding charter members, and as these 4 or 5 companies started growing, they had such huge market share. Like other monopolies, they wound up merging themselves, and American Tobacco wound up being one of the companies that got busted up by the trust laws.
Those the trust laws.
Antitrust laws that came along.
Yep. Where did Philip Morris come in?
Don't know.
That's probably like...
Don't know.
Yeah, I'd be totally guessing, but probably 50s and 60s? No, maybe...
No, I'm sure that they're that old too.
Yeah.
I think that, those were probably the founding fathers. They were probably in the Virginias. My guess is they're probably in the Carolinas or the Virginias.
If you like history and that type of stuff, I met a guy last night, and I'll probably... He's a archivist?
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
So he works for a company, and he does a lot of stuff for IBM.
Cool.
But he was talking about like Ford and all that, and he got to work on that movie, the new movie with Ford versus Ferrari.
Ferrari, yeah.
Because they had to go in and all the archives and get facts and get pictures and stuff, so make sure everything was historically correct. Fascinating conversation. I could listen to that guy all night.
I bet.
Yeah.
People like that have a penchant for all those details, and they have a brain that's just wired to kind of organize things.
It looks like a
that.
filing cabinet.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just like imagine like looking at a graphic of a timeline. I think that's how their brains work. They're able to sort things out, figure out what happened before, and
No, not me. No, there'd be huge gaps in that. I'd be like,
I've bumped into archivists along my way in some of my studies and some work, and they're wired differently for sure. It's like you can always tell like an engineer versus an accountant.
Yeah,
an
sure,
archivist
sure.
is yet another
branch of that
brain set.
Yeah. So you've done some traveling, I saw, just recently, right?
Well, I just got back from a vacation in
where'd you go?
Aruba.
Aruba. Oh yeah, just gonna go hang out in Aruba a little bit.
Pretty much my
Nothing?
second home now. So,
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because you're what we were talking before. You're about retired, huh?
Yeah, I'm definitely slowing down now, and I'm 61, and I'm enjoying life.
Good for you. What do you got now? Do you have a place down in Aruba, or are you just renting? Or
We have timeshares in one place that we absolutely love to go. Probably don't want to advertise it because I don't want anybody else to buy any more of it.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good thing.
No, but it's on Eagle Beach, and it's the third most beautiful beach in the world, according to one of the leading experts in the field.
What's the first and second?
I don't know, but I know that we got a ranking of third.
Third, huh? That's a lot of beaches to be number 3.
Well, it's like in Aruba, the northwest side of the island is pretty much where all of the resorts are. And if you go to the most northern part, you've got the biggest high-rise hotels like Marriott. There's a Holiday Inn there. There's Hilton, Barcelo. And those are very high population, high-rise hotels with very small beaches.
Like tourists.
They've got like less than 100 feet of beach to the ocean.
Okay.
And they got to divvy that up among all these thousands of people that populate the hotels.
Sure.
We've got a place that's got 150 rooms, and we have hundreds of feet of beach. It's just gorgeous.
So that's probably big part of the ranking is like how crowded or not crowded it is, right?
Sure.
You know, makes it a lot better if you're not piling
It's also like nobody touches the beach. Like the government maintains control of the beaches. Nobody really touches them. They're just naturally made. And so if the beach starts to disappear for a couple of years and then comes back, that's all about natural trends. The tide's moving.
They don't mess with it?
No, they won't come in and, like in Jersey, they just bring in the bulldozers.
Yeah, and Hawaii's a big one with that too. Hawaii, because a lot of those are man-made.
They're so completely dependent on that. But here it's about being natural.
Huh. So
the only thing they move around down there is turtle nests. They got the leatherback turtles come and nest along the beach. And if they nest up in the high-rise area, they might be like in such a crowded area that they're afraid that the nest will be disturbed before they hatch. So there's a conservation group called Tortuga. And they come along and they dig up the nest and they'll relocate it down by us where there's a lot more beach. And then they can barricade it so nobody walks over it until it's time to hatch.
Yeah, because turtles, they'll lay their eggs and leave.
Right.
So, I mean...
Yeah, it's pretty cool. These guys migrate up as far as Greenland. Then they mature and they come back to the Dutch Antilles, the Netherlands Antilles, and they'll come back to nest, and then they head out again, and then the little guys just make their way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. That's a long way.
The greatest thing watching a nest hatch.
So if you
go out there and just
you being down there, you've seen it.
Oh yeah. I got some great video and photos. You see one little nose pop up out of the sand, and then the next one, and there'll be 100 in a nest.
Right.
And
all that
one guy comes up and checks the temperature, and if the sun's too high in the sky, they know it's too dangerous to come up at that point because enough of them won't make it to the water
because
they'll die of the heat. So one of them goes up as a temperature sensor, and then when it gets cool enough, then he starts the migration, and then they all start popping out of the nest.
Everybody's like, follow along.
It's all hands on deck.
Holy shit!
And then they come out like this whole little pile of baby turtles.
Now, is there any predators that hang out there just waiting for it to happen? Birds,
sure.
Probably. I imagine birds.
Yeah, not so much on the ground, but as they get toward the water, they got pelicans and guys will pick them off. But they're also, once they hop on the water, they're small enough that their mortality rate's pretty high.
Yeah. Because that's why they, you have 100 eggs hoping one of them makes it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Whew.
I have no idea what the statistics are on it, but
I have no idea.
It's got to be pretty high.
Yeah. I always loved seeing that. I used to spend a lot of time in Maui. And the turtles were they're just fascinating.
I learned to scuba dive in Maui.
Oh, yeah? Where in Maui?
I was out there snorkeling, and I hated the fact that I have bad eyesight.
Okay.
So I hated the fact that I had a stock mask, and I couldn't see anything, and I was really bad at diving down because I'm too buoyant.
Right.
So I learned to scuba dive because then I could get down and see the reef comfortably. And then I found out that there's actually prescription masks. So
now do you snorkel at all now?
I hate snorkeling. I absolutely hate snorkeling because when you have scuba, you have a full air supply and you never have to worry about getting salt in your snorkel.
Yeah, that's the one that always bothered me. Now, I've never scuba dived because I'm claustrophobic.
Oh, yeah, no, not for you.
I think I'd freak the fuck out and end up drowning probably, but yeah.
It is not a sport for everybody. You have to be very comfortable with closed spaces, and you also, you're in another environment. Plus, you're bringing your own life support system.
Well, that and it's not a natural environment. Like
right.
We weren't,
it's not your environment.
Right. Yeah, very good.
We might have come from there a long time ago, but
that's a good point. It's not my environment. It's a natural environment. It's not my natural environment. Do you scuba dive a lot?
I did. I do less of it now, but I still love to do it. But I got real serious in the early 90s. The guy who taught me, well, I went to Maui and I did a what they call a pool course. So they'll throw you in the pool for half an hour, show you the basics, and they let you walk out from the beach and just walk into the water and go out and swim. Maybe you get down to about 30 feet.
Okay.
And swim around the reef and stuff. But it's enough to get you hooked.
Sorry about that. I thought I had that shut off.
That's okay.
Where in Maui? Do you remember?
Kaanapali Beach.
Yeah,
I was at the Westin. I think we were at the Westin.
Yep, I'm very familiar with that.
My daughter just had her honeymoon out there.
I was going to say, she got married not too long ago, right?
A year ago, October.
Wow. Holy cow. That's been this long since you and I have been... Holy Christ, dude.
Yeah. In August, they took their honeymoon. It was great. One of her friends at work has a condo there, and she gave her 2 weeks in her condo in Maui as a wedding present. I'm like, hey, you're showing me up. I'm the father of the bride.
Yeah, I was just going to say, holy man.
Yeah.
So did they go out for 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Good for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I used to go out quite a bit, we'd go for 2 weeks at a time because of the travel.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go out there.
No, it's a long haul.
Yeah. And then you just get going, then you got to leave. Nah,
yeah.
Be there for 2 weeks.
Whacked with the time difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I saw every single sunrise when I was out there for 10 days.
Now, do you go to... What's your average length of time down in Aruba?
Pretty much we go 1 week at a time, 8 days. The timeshares run Friday to Friday.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people go down there for a few weeks at a time. My wife has a stronger preference to go more times each year than just go for a week at a time.
Right.
She gets a little tired of living out of the hotel. I don't get tired of it at all.
Oh, so go instead of going down for like 2-3 weeks, you go down 3 times for a week.
Right. This was our third
see.
trip in 2019. We went in January, we went in May, and we went in October.
What's the flight going down there?
4 hours.
Oh, well, hell, that ain't nothing. You're just getting comfortable at 4 hours.
You know what? I used to complain about going to Europe when I worked for a German company. And then I had a business trip to Singapore, and it was a nonstop flight, Newark to Singapore.
13 now? No,
19 hours. Oh. And that's just wrong. Nobody.
No.
Lewis Black has a great...
I love Lewis Black.
Great routine on this. And he's like, they feed you, and then they give you a lot of drinks, and then they feed you some more, and then they give you dessert. And then there's still 18 freaking hours to go.
Still 18 hours.
I think he did it when he went to Australia or New Zealand or something. Great routine.
I've never been on a plane. The longest I've been on a plane was 13 hours.
Yeah.
And that I was...
Pretty much anything over 6 is wrong in my way of thinking. But it made me start to feel like, Europe isn't too bad. 7 hours over, 9 hours back, whatever.
Yeah.
And now, to me, a hop down to Aruba is just
hell, that's just like going...
It's taken me longer to get to a client in Long Island.
Right. I was going to say, us being here with the traffic and everything, that's going to see a friend or a client or something in the day. That's the same thing.
Right.
Same amount of time. Yeah, my rule of thumb with traveling, if it's over 9 hours, 10 hours to travel like by car, I'll look at flying. If I can drive there in like 6 hours, driving.
Yeah, like Boston, I just stopped flying to Boston.
To drive over? Or the bus. The bus is incredible.
And the train.
The train, yeah.
I'll drive to Boston because the ride's not that bad. I'll take the train to D.C. because the connections, the Acela is great.
Yep.
And you can as soon as you get in Union Square there, you can, Union Station, you can grab a cab, Uber, rent a car, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, and driving to DC is a pain in the ass.
Oh, royal.
Yeah, to like driving to Boston, it's an easy drive.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a quick run, and there's really there's no beltways around it. You
Right,
got to go
right.
through Baltimore and then Washington.
forget it.
Not fun.
No, take the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially now with like you said with Uber and all that.
Oh, yeah.
You get around anywhere.
Yeah.
So now you're for business. You're not traveling in hardly anywhere.
No, it would have to be a really cool trip for them to get me to go somewhere now.
So you're like, nah, I'm done with that. And you did what though for a long because you had
So-
your own thing for a long time, right?
Yeah, I had. Well,
Or you still do, but
I started out in public accounting 100 years ago, when it was still the Big Eight. So now there's only four.
yeah.
I started in 1980, and I pretty quickly got out of accounting and really went into the consulting side of the business, and I really liked that a lot. So I did financial systems, and I wound up doing some of that on my own after I worked for Arthur Young for a long time, and I worked at Pepsi, J&J, a couple of really big companies, and I realized that environment wasn't for me. So then I got into smaller businesses and then started consulting, and I really enjoyed it. Wound up going to work for one of my clients in the late 90s, late 90s, for almost 20 years. And I started out in IT, and I wound up running their business for North America. And so then I got my parachute from there and went back to consulting.
Nice.
And I walked out of there Tuesday, and I had a client Wednesday.
And that's all she wrote.
Yep,
How long ago was that? Like when?
5 years.
And then you have your own business since then. Mm-hmm. Yep. And now you're looking to scale back and
Yeah,
be in
if
Aruba more.
If they call, I'll come. And I'm not advertising anymore.
Oh, really? Is that how you're scaling back?
Yeah.
Is just not advertised,
Yeah.
just word of mouth?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. So, with my new job, I don't network or do any of that, and man, I don't miss it a bit. I love talking to
But we
people.
love seeing you at Business Connections.
Oh, stop it, dude! Stop it. I love that. Ended up being for people listening who don't know what that is. It was a local chamber of commerce once a month meeting where they invited everybody that's part of the chamber to go in one big room. And to me, that ended up being just a social event for me. Mm-hmm. You know, I looked at it in my heart. I haven't seen Marc and Don and Tom and everybody else all month. I'll catch up to them in business connections. You know, that's how I treat it. And I was like, I got to get done with this. I'm done, you know. And now, I don't know, we talked about it. I work for U-Haul, and there's never a dull moment. And it's blue collar work, which I love. I drive a work truck, and by 4 o'clock Friday afternoon, fucking tired, man. I'm ready to be done.
I hear you.
Know? And then, and then most of the time I work half a day on Saturday. Like I worked till 1 o'clock today before we got together. But
My wife has two brothers. One drives over the road half the time, and then the other days he's doing day runs. And he did night runs forever, and it takes its toll.
yeah, that's tough, man.
But he also likes the freedom, and there's the drag of the corporate side of things because you do have a boss and whatnot. But he loves being in the truck by himself.
Yeah,
and the other one drives for Pepsi. And he's probably
Delivering
got
or-
close to 30 years.
no shit.
now
That's
he's
a bulk
doing-
driver.
Sorry,
He's a bulk driver.
he
tractor
started
trailer.
out with the bottle and can delivery with the I don't know what
side
you call
door.
it, the side the side trucks.
I worked for Coca-Cola for 18 years. So
And now he's a CDL, so he drives a tractor trailer and takes the stuff off of the back with a forklift.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a fun business. And what I'm doing now is similar. I'm just dealing with trucks instead of soda.
Yeah.
And the freedom is incredible. You know.
Do you get involved with their? They were renting their trucks, weren't they, to Amazon? And
Yeah, not anymore.
no.
This is fun. Little insider stuff. We rent vans, right? Mm-hmm. They just beat the fucking piss out of the vans. It's incredible. One, the drivers that they hire just don't care because they're being paid minimum amount, and the type of people they throw in those trucks. You know, they don't have this is my opinion.
Then they're renting the truck from you.
It's a rental truck. I don't care. Yada yada yada. Again, my opinion that most of the people driving those, they just don't have any value. I can't think of the word now, but any value for anything other
respect
for anything.
Property,
right? It's whatever. And then you see how they treat your packages when they come. So imagine how they're treating a $40,000 vehicle. They're just beating the piss out of it, right? So Amazon bought, if you go over the bridge out of Secaucus, you can look down, and it's on the docks. It's a parking lot full of Dodge vans. They're like a bluish gray color. The Amazon bought a whole fleet.
Yeah, the Sprinter vans.
Sprinter. There's two sizes of Sprinters, and they bought the smaller size. The one size is really tall, like you can walk around in it, and then the next size down is a little bit bigger than like a normal cargo van.
Okay.
Okay, you see those. Those are their majority of their fleet, especially around here because of everything is so condensed and, and they're not driving 15 miles to their next stop.
Yeah, they got very distributed routes.
Yeah.
So they've got micro routes.
Micro route. There you go. Yep. And I saw one of these vans, they're new ones. One, the Dodge, the Sprinter, it's front wheel drive. Mm-hmm. And U-Haul had them for a while, and they got rid of them because about 20,000 miles the transmission goes on them.
Oh, man.
So wait till that whole fleet starts. They start sending them back to Dodge to deal with the.
Hey, that Sprinter was a Mercedes design.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, depending on what model, the design, but then how is it built and what parts.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Once they broke up,
right.
That was a great story. They said Daimler and Chrysler sat down and said, "Well, what are we going to call this?" And the Daimler guy said, "Well, we'll use the beginning of our name and the end of your name."
No shit. That's how
Still Daimler.
Yeah. I was just going to say. I saw one of these vans here locally one day, and they're all 2019 or even 2000. Yeah, 2019, 18 to 19, right? And the condition of that van was not good. It was, because I was coming up from behind it because it was parked on the street. I live here in Montclair, right? So it was parked on the curb, and I could see the side door open, right? So he's making a delivery. Mm-hmm. The back was all dented. One of the taillights was out. Not just out, but busted. Like the glass was busted on it. There's a big, I say scratch, but a big thing right down the side of the driver's side door. The driver's side mirror was cracked. And then when I went by it, one of the headlights was out. That's a 2019.
Wow.
And you should see what the vans that they brought back to U-Haul looked like. It was incredible.
When that was happening, I saw like my Prime stuff was getting delivered, and I saw a U-Haul van truck in my driveway. Yeah. I'm like, that's genius. Like they're expanding their fleet. They get, I don't know, you probably know what the stats are, but I'm guessing that U-Haul trucks sit around a lot in between jobs. So it made very good sense, good business sense.
Yeah. And plus,
except that they were wrecking your vehicles.
Well, it's like, okay, sure, they're bringing in X amount of dollars, but how much, people, you and I know this business, a lot of people do. Sure, they're bringing in X amount of dollars, but when the time comes, your P&L, by the time you fix that shit,
right,
what's left? sure, it looks good on paper that you're
Right.
doing X amount of dollars.
Lots of revenue, no profit.
Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what good does that do you? You know, sure, it might look good for stockholders, you know, but
Well, we've all been in business and know what a non-earning piece of business looks like.
yeah, exactly. It looks all fancy, all shiny and gold because it's making money. But at the end of the day,
I'm sure you've had projects you walk away from and some you run away from.
yeah, absolutely. But, well, so what, Amazon is at 18 billion they're worth? Is that what it is?
No, got to be more than that these days.
Or is it 100? I can't remember that. I don't
know.
Number.
Bezos
but
is the richest guy in the world.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Even all those oil guys and all that shit?
Oh, yeah. No, I think he's up there. I think he's above Buffett and Gates. And
But how do they compare that to like all the businesses and stuff like out east with all the oil and those families and stuff?
maybe like the Sultan of Brunei. You know. Well, okay. Maybe the Saudi crown family
Probably has.
maybe has. Yeah, I think when they're talking about taking Aramco public with the Saudi oil company, I think they're talking about somewhere around a $1.5 to $2 trillion valuation.
I can't see that. It's just mind blown, right? But I think their stock, Amazon stock, is like 1,700 or something.
Oh yeah, yes, it's about
Right.
$1,700 a share.
Right.
Yeah,
So they can afford, if they chose to have their own fleet and do that. But I believe that it's going to come around to where they're going to see when somebody does the P&L on that fleet, I bet you they go back to renting trucks.
yeah,
You know, okay, I bought that. Okay, they made us a killer deal. I'm just going to throw numbers out there just to make an example. They made us a killer deal on these vans at $15,000 a piece, and we bought X amount. This is what we have involved. Well, by the time they look at the downtime,
right.
so when they were down, we had to rent trucks anyway to accommodate because
Yeah.
not like they're going to stop shipping stuff.
Well, here's the market cap: $865 billion market cap for Amazon.
What do you mean by market cap?
The value of their stock. So you take that $1,700 times the number of shares they've got outstanding, $865 billion.
Just a couple then.
Yeah. So think about it.
869.
65 billion.
865 billion.
Right. So
I was
think
a little
about
off
where they're going. Like, you know, I watched Tesla. I watched Elon Musk with his new pickup truck.
What do you
which
think?
Isn't a pickup truck at all.
It's not a pickup truck.
I don't. He loves to get out there with these really super cool things. You know, super
Sure.
modernistic. And of course, this is a concept car. It's not not production
Right.
yet. It's 3 years away from production. I thought it was great that they threw the steel balls at the window and it shattered, you know, the bulletproof glass.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. So what?
Great announcement the other night, like 11 o'clock our time. Musk gets out on the stage with one of their engineer guys, and
So is
they
the
roll
wind-
this thing out, and they talk about how it's got this bulletproof glass. And the guy picks up a steel ball and whales it and shatters the side window. Now, this is we're off the track here, but
No, there's no track.
He
That's the
did-
best part.
yeah, it is great. He, I think, and then Elon Musk walks out looking at like, I thought this was supposed to be bulletproof. But if you think about it, the whole video went viral because
It
the glass
didn't.
shattered.
That was a
so he
total
still
set.
got everybody's eyeballs
That
looking
was a
at his
total set.
product.
Yeah, I would
It's a
say
stunt.
that was a bunch of shit. Yeah.
It's a stunt. So anyway, go back to Amazon.
Well, real quick, I just saw.
Yeah, sure.
I just saw a meme. I'm a big meme fan.
Me too.
I just saw a meme that said it had that quote unquote truck on it, and it says husband says, "I'm going to Home Depot to get something," and it has that truck, you know, and then the wife says, "You're going to get your ass kicked again."
Yeah, this is not targeted at middle America that is
No,
buying
no.
all the pickup trucks.
No.
You know, the other thing is the three major truck makers have roughly 30% share each of that market, but that's where all the profits of those companies are.
In the truck market.
Right. Chevy, Ford, Dodge.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where they make their money.
Yep.
So, anyway, trucks, go back to Amazon. Amazon's not worried about those sprinters dying.
Right.
Those are a temporary measure. They're on the path to build their own fleet, and they'll design trucks just like UPS did. You look at a UPS truck and go, gee, what kind of truck is that? What brand? It's not a brand.
No, it's
It's
own.
a company that only makes trucks for UPS. They are not allowed to make anything for anybody else. They are
And they're all aluminum too,
sole
right?
source. Right. So the thing is completely designed to their specifications, and they're designed to last exactly as long as UPS wants them to.
Right.
And UPS is, experimented with sprinters and other things while they're trying to figure out how do they profitably deliver Amazon business.
Right.
Because those trucks were designed for small business pickup, to bring it back to a depot, to
Right.
repackage and terminals.
So you think that this is a stepping stone? They're gonna
Absolutely.
They're gonna buy these, test them, see what.
They're in the
maybe-
process of building their own fleet, and they'll design their own fleet. They'll find somebody to make it for them, and their trucks, when they're done, they will have drone stations on the roof.
Yeah.
And they'll have robotics in the back of the truck that do the picking and packing and labeling and hand the package up to the drone. The drone takes off of its charging station and flies over and delivers your product. And then the truck is a traveling hub. It's
Yep,
going
yep.
around the city.
Holy
And it's
shit.
algorithmically programmed to go to be in the best place possible. And
Yeah.
it's programmed to have the right stuff on the truck.
Yep,
And you'll
yep.
have one truck that's loaded with electronics and another one that's loaded. So you think about like what distribution centers are for big,
This is going to be in a smaller. It's
Target.
going to be a smaller.
These are distribution centers that are
Yep.
floating around, and they have mini delivery systems
On top.
that are basically
And-
self-contained.
And he could drive down, the driver could drive down my street and hand deliver stuff while the drone is delivering other stuff.
Right.
So now 2 or 3 things are being delivered at the
there's-
same time.
The one design I saw, I was up in Boston 2 years ago, and one design I saw had 6 drones sitting on the roof. So they were just taking turns going out and delivering packages. So think about in Manhattan, 6 drones off one truck flying around, and they're talking about like giving companies delivery stations that would replace some of the window panes in the high rises. So you don't have to
So, like,
where
on
does
a-
the drone drop? Right.
Okay, so like that being said, say a high rise on the 25th floor, suite
Right.
2507 is a depot for Amazon. So if I'm a
No, that's your office. That's the mail room for the law firm that's on that floor. But when they want to get an order, there's a think about it like a bank teller's drawer.
so the
Okay.
drone would take it to the
Drone
25th.
would go there and electronically open a panel, drop the package in, and then take off.
Holy shit.
Hey, think about it.
Oh, it's
You know, they-
coming. It's
yeah.
coming. Oh, absolutely, it's coming. There's
Well,
no doubt. But
and
it's just kind of fun to
The
talk
carbon,
about it.
yeah, the carbon footprint on it alone is worth doing because they can justify like how many electric vehicles, right? Electric
Right, 'cause
drones,
Well, yeah, because in New York City,
less
that,
trucks idling.
yeah,
This
that
is
truck
insane.
itself is going to be electric, obviously.
Right. Because they say that, any given delivery vehicle in the city is probably idling 70% of its time, right?
Yeah, Coca-Cola said 65 back in the day.
Yeah.
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 So less downtime, less emissions, less carbon footprint. And like you said, when the driver can also do this, and I'll go, what driver? Because in 10 years, when they get this done.
Yeah, but okay. So on that, I can see inner city. Okay,
Yes.
I can see inside like Hoboken, Jersey City, New York City. You
Agreed.
could have a truck that doesn't have a driver, right? But to go from L.A. to New York, logistically at this point, it's going to be many, many years before the tariff, what do you call it, the ground, and the logistics and all that on the ground.
Yeah,
it's going to be drivers are still going to be.
Oh, for sure.
There's still going to have to be some kind of manual.
There's a part of me that firmly believes that you've got to take all the human drivers off the road before autonomous driving works.
Absolutely.
Because the one element that you can't control is the unpredictability of a human.
Right. And that
you can try to get it. You can try to react to it, but even humans don't respond all that well to other humans driving vehicles.
Right. Yeah, and even like somebody was telling me, and I feel that this would be the way it would start. Is almost like in the city now we have a bus lane.
Yeah.
Right? So now on some interstates, you'll see it be tested, I assume, somewhere like, say, between L.A. and whatever, like
maybe up and down the coast.
Somewhere, something to where, okay, it's a 4-lane highway right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., this one lane, it's painted different because it's probably got to have some kind of sensors and all that shit on it, right? Is autonomous driving trucks.
Good point.
To where the other 3 lanes, my knucklehead driving down the road, I'm not supposed to be in that lane because you're going to get plowed over because these trucks are driving autonomously. Right. I believe that's how it'll start, and then it'll expand from there.
I saw a real simple ad. I think it was Nissan, where the guy explained it really well, that they're introducing technologies in the cars now like backup cameras and automatic distance control. My Outback has auto stop and go.
Outback's crazy about this stuff.
It's got eyesight. So it's got these 2 cameras that are looking out front, and it is interpreting what's in front of me. And if you don't touch the brakes, the car will stop on its own if it sees an obstacle or somebody slowing. And I can set the thing to say, I'd like to go 65, and I want to be 4 car lengths away. I want to be at maximum speed 65, but I want to be as no less than 4 car lengths away from what's in front of me.
So you have the most and the least.
Right. 1 to 4. And the vehicle just figures it out and maintains, and it can come to a full stop and then start back up when the traffic moves.
Oh, no shit. So
sure. And
so if you come up to a construction zone where there's a guy with a flag and it stops, you don't have to touch anything, and
if you're driving along and the traffic's moving 60 miles an hour and the guy in front of you is doing 55, it's going to stay behind him doing 55 at 4 car lengths. And if he slows, it slows. And if he comes to a full stop, it comes to a full stop safely. And then starts up over again if he moves.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I mean, these are things that they're introducing to us now so that we get comfortable with the car taking more and more of the responsibility.
And if they're doing that, if your car can do that now, that you have available to us now, imagine what's really available right now that's not to the general public.
Yeah, actually, there's probably a lot cooler technology that's just in test.
To the masses.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing with going back to the autonomous, like trucking, the other thing that I have an issue with, or I feel that there'll be an issue with, is weather. So if you're coming across Nebraska and it starts to snow, how does that, in that vehicle, there's no human to interact if that thing starts to slide off the road?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
sure.
Think about it, though, too. There are people who know how to handle a vehicle in the snow.
Right.
And then there's most of my relatives
Yeah, well, that's true.
who won't go on the road, if there's a flake. So
Right.
if you have a vehicle that's trained to understand traction, and the wheels are monitored. I mean, you think about it, Internet of Things. If you've got sensors and monitors everywhere and you don't have the human element of unpredictability,
It could probably figure it out.
it might figure it out better than we do.
Okay,
Like
okay.
you say, turn into a spin. How many times you've ever seen anybody actually turn into a spin?
Or another one that gets me is, I learned this a long time ago because where I grew up, hydroplane, right? We all know what hydroplane is. If you don't, it's when your car is going down the road and it gets on a sheet of water and it's no longer touching the pavement. You're
Right.
actually on the
You're floating on the water.
The absolute worst thing you can do is what?
Hit the brakes.
Or steer or
Turn.
anything.
Right.
The best thing you do is just let go of everything. Obviously, your steering wheel. Hang on to your steering wheel, but don't touch
Get off
any
the pedals.
Any pedals. Don't until you gain traction back on the road. When I ride with people and they hit water, they put both feet on the brakes, and I'm like, "Oh, God, what are you
Right.
doing?" But like,
They
I'm
hit
just
ice.
making
They
that
do
as an
that. No, you're right.
example.
You're
for-
right. They hit ice. They do the same thing.
Don't touch it. Just don't
Right.
touch anything. The vehicle, it's like I say about a motorcycle. A motorcycle is designed not to fall over. You got to work on it to, obviously it'll tip over if you just step up. But like when it's riding down the road,
Right.
it's designed not to fall over. And a car is designed, certain ways. So it's just kind of fun to.
Where'd you
but
grow up that you?
Upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
So snow, water. I mean, you got 4 seasons. That's why I like it around here. I like it
Yeah.
around here because 4 seasons.
Yeah, me too.
I spent many years in Colorado Springs. They do not have 4 seasons. The best, going back to what you said about Aruba, the best hidden secret in Colorado Springs is the weather. So it's at 6,000 feet, and it's considered a desert mountain. So it's a desert. Colorado Springs is technically a desert. So the weather is 70 degrees, 70, 75, next to nothing for humidity, and over 300 days of sunshine a year.
Wow.
How can you, I never looked at the weather report when I lived there. Never. You just got up, you went to work, or you went and did something, because the sun was going to fucking be out. When I moved out of Colorado the year before, so I left in 13. So in 12, it had like 328 days of sunshine.
Wow.
Right? So I don't know. To me, it got boring.
Well, I was going to say, no matter what you get used to, 4 seasons or like
That.
Aruba, which is every day of the year, it's low of 80, high of 90.
Right. You don't even have to look at the weather report.
No,
That's just what it
right.
is.
Lewis Black had a great one for that too. He was like, best job in the world, San Diego weatherman.
Oh, yeah.
So
Could be
what's it
80
going to be like today, Lou? Nice. Back to you.
It's going to be, it's a nice day. Okay. And, but the thing is, I like the seasons. I like the change of
Yeah.
weather. I don't know, maybe it's in my DNA that.
To me, I need the change. Like I actually will enjoy the snow up until about February.
Yeah, no, okay, all right, come on.
Then I will either want to go to Aruba or I just want the snow to stop.
Yeah.
But I love the fall. I love to watch the trees
fall.
turn. We had a great one this year. They'd actually hung in there for a while.
Yep. Fall is my second favorite F word. So, fall is my favorite time of year. Thanksgiving, Halloween.
Yeah.
The smell of everything. And growing up where I did, we had amazing fall weather, and a lot of the
Oh yeah, the foliage up there in the
it's
mountains
all maple
is
trees.
unbelievable.
A lot of maple trees, a lot of oak, and all that. So it was amazing. The smell of I love the smell of fall air and just a crisp
Yeah,
Like
exactly. It gets crisper and cleaner. At the same time, you start to get all the smell of the leaves
decay and all that.
falling and
Yep.
rotting. And
Yep, it's just
Yeah.
nice. The snow is fun, like you said. Though I think to a point, eventually you go, all right, I'm good. I'm good. We're good. But I do enjoy the snow. Val and I, we like the snow. I can't snowboard anymore because of my back. But she likes to. My family lives up in Vermont, and we go up there, and she likes to ski with my nephews and stuff like that.
nice. My son-in-law is a major snowboarder.
Oh,
Loves it.
I still love snowboarding. But things happen, right? That was interesting with Amazon. Never even thought of that with the trucks.
Yeah,
I
so,
knew that they were going to lounch, but I never
so
thought
whatever
of that
they
with the
have
trucks.
now is really just an interim step. And I think
Right.
that's the kind of cool thing when you look at companies like that. They have to serve the needs today, but they're already thinking about like 3 generations out.
Yeah.
How they will use technology to do it differently, do it better. I mean, we laughed the first time that Jeff Bezos talked about delivering a box with a drone. And now everybody's like, so when's it going to come? We need it now.
My dad, you mentioned with technology with your car, and we'll use Amazon with, technology, like trickling that in, and it's desensitizing us to where when it majorly happens, you're like, we saw it coming. Right?
Right.
My dad thought that years and years ago with pot. when they made it medically available, the first thing out of his mouth was, the only reason they're doing this is to desensitize us to when it becomes legal. You'd be like, it's been forever with medical anyway, so it's no big deal. We knew it was coming legally. But at that time, if you made it legal,
Right.
whoo,
Right.
man, the world had fucking turned upside down.
One of my favorite books is Change the Culture, Change the Game.
Sure.
And it's, a lot about trying to do good change management in organizations. But it really is about human interaction with change. And it basically said this: our actions are based on our beliefs. We will do what we believe is right to do.
Yeah, sure.
And our beliefs are built on our experiences. So the only way you can change behavior is to change our belief. And the only way to change our belief is to give us a different experience.
Yeah.
So you think about how these things have happened.
awesome.
It's like that's what happens is you're starting to see something, you're experiencing something different. It starts to shift your belief.
So, like, use pot for an example. Okay, yeah, it's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug.
Exactly.
They make it medically available. Then you start to see, man, that helps my buddy.
Then we start hearing about cancer patients who don't vomit up after their chemo.
and everything else, all
Right,
the other
and-
stories. Right?
and all-
So that starts to change your belief
Right.
because of the experiences.
Starts to take
you
the
have.
harsh edge off. And so instead of seeing, gateway drugs and career criminals, now you're talking about doctors talking about cannabis.
Right.
So, right. So what's happening? Like you just described it. I just said, there's a model for that kind of behavioral change. We can't we can't go from 0 to 60.
No.
Nothing does. Even a car accelerates. The Ford versus Ferrari, right?
Yeah, right.
You may be able to do it in 3 seconds, but it does take 3
3
seconds,
seconds.
and there is something between 0 and 60.
Yep. That's
but it-
that's amazing analogy with like, we can't go 0 to 60 because there's something in between no matter what.
Right. You experience the in between. My sister said to me, childbirth, is whether you have 9 hours of labor or 1 hour, the kid's still coming out. It's a matter of how long the pain will last.
Right. I had a guy on here too, not too long ago, and he was talking about how Einstein described relativity of time. He tried to basically put it in layman's terms, right? Mm-hmm. So you could get somebody with a super high IQ to describe relativity of time, right? And go
Yeah.
into it, all that. He's like, I want to describe it so the average person understands it. And what he said was, take your, put your hand on a hot stove for a minute, and it feels like an hour. Spend an hour with a beautiful woman, and it feels like a minute. And I went, I got that. That
Right.
makes sense to me.
Right.
Like that clicks with me, right?
And that's a great segue to the idea that storytelling is a gate. It's a passage. It's a way to get somebody from a lack of knowledge to a deep understanding. It is the bridge as well.
Wait a minute, I got to write that down. That's awesome. What a great way to look at that.
Well,
what are you looking up?
I had to laugh because you mentioned pot. And so I found this. You said you love memes, but I found this great picture of an old product called toluidine. And this is from the early 1900s. And it lists the contents.
Oh, I want to see that.
So you can read off the contents to your listeners. So this is a drug that was... This was like a drug.
You got to send this to me. I'm going to post it.
Sure.
I got to. Okay, so it's toluidine
Yeah.
company, right? I assume that means company. It's a syrup, and it's this old label that you would assume, the brownish label with the old time font. And the reason I just busted out laughing because one, alcohol 10%, no big deal there.
Alcohol 10%, no big deal,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, that's kind of but compared to the next,
Right. The list there.
the
right?
list, there's what cannabis, chloroform, morphine, and what's it? Hydrochloride.
Yeah. Keep
Those-
going. See what antimony there?
What is it? Antimony and
So
I
in the
think that's PODIS, but there's
potassium probably is
yeah,
a
there's
short
a
version,
it's,
right.
yeah.
Okay,
You
so
got to send that to me.
antimony is a heavy metal that you can't even put in the jacketing of a cable. I know from the cable industry, and it's like poison to have it in a product you
let
might
me see that.
touch. But
So what's
in
the-
these days, they were actually putting it in something you
A cough
drink.
syrup. That's what I was wondering what this
Right.
was. A fucking cough syrup's got cannabis, chloroform, morphine, and hydrochloride in it. Oh, and
You can't
alcohol,
cough
10%.
because you're unconscious after
Yeah,
you
I was
take
just going to
this,
say that is, and they wonder why shit kills us nowadays.
right?
Look what they're. No wonder you only lived till you were 40.
We're
Back
worried about opioids right now, right? This was 100 years ago.
That you got to have that, dude. That's the old joke. Hey, smell this. This smell like chloroform? Yeah, no wonder you wouldn't be coughing because you're dead. That's awesome. That is super fun. But yeah, so that's the whole gateway thing, and I like how you said experiences change our belief. Did I round that up correctly?
Very much. It's the pyramid in Change the Culture, Change the Game was that experiences are on the bottom. They found our beliefs. Our beliefs drive our actions, and our actions drive our results.
Yeah.
So you want a different result.
Start at the bottom.
Corporations, typically they say they need a new result, so they try to create a new set of actions. But they don't go to the next level down. So what happens? Those actions don't stick. So there's the bad change management.
Oh, okay.
And so
Okay.
everybody's working on, well, we just have to teach people to change better. Or we have to, get people to accept change more. Well, let's get down below the surface here. Why is it that they don't accept the change? Maybe part of it is you have a flavor of the month, and they're just going to wait you out until
I've been here
you bring up
15
the
years
next
and they
project.
do this all the time, and I'm just
or
gonna, yeah.
I'll wait this guy out until they throw in the next CEO.
Right.
I have one client that's on their fourth CEO in 5 years.
How do you make change when you're...
in the old days, think about it, 20 years was a good tenure for a CEO.
Right.
Now we think of it as 5 years is a pretty good run for somebody. 4 CEOs in 5 years. How many different messages are those people getting about what it is we need to do, let alone what they believe? At some point, they don't believe anything.
Right. There's it's like a warden at a prison. Just wait him out. The next one's coming. Next one's coming.
Right.
I'm going to be here long after he's gone, so I'll just wait him out. So I created a meme, and I'm working on with this platform, with this project, is coming up with a. And let me backtrack just a little bit. Like we talked about before, what I like about this podcast, one, there's no editing, right? Mm-hmm. Two, it's just open conversation. I just love having conversations. Look at all the shit we just talked about today, right? We're all over the place, from chloroform to Amazon, right? Which
we probably both have ADD.
Yeah, but chloroform and Amazon are probably pretty similar nowadays. But we'll just. But inside, what I wanted to have because I love storytelling. I love hearing stories. So within these podcasts, I like to hear stories. Like you brought up a couple. I don't know if you even noticed, right? Because it's just in conversation, right? And that's the platform that I enjoy. But what struck me was the meme I made was stories are our moral compass. So me growing up, I hear stories from my parents, from people close to me, because until you're 6 or 7 or something, your brain's just a sponge.
Yeah.
Right. You're not really doing.
You're creating so many new neural connections in that time frame. It's astronomical.
Right.
It's like 500,000 a minute or something.
Yeah. So the stories that we hear, not just the conversation, but the stories that we hear that, hey, your grandmother did this and I used to do this and whatever it may be. I believe that, I'm thinking that creates your morals, right? Obviously your experiences throughout your life are going to change that, but that's your foundation. So good stories and positive stories, bad stories are stories, right? I mean, they can't all be sunshine and rainbows, right? You can learn from bad stories too.
Sure.
So I was thinking, I'm trying to put together like a little 4-part episode and have people come on and tell stories that guide them like through their life, right? Like, hey, the reason I do this, because all grown up for 15 years, I was growing up, till I didn't really listen to what my parents said or my grandmother said, whatever it may be. They told this story and it just really hangs into me. And when I'm in a situation, I think about that story and it helps me get through it or stops me from doing this because that story, whatever. So going back to the experience
and beliefs
and all that. Yeah. So that's what made me think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I call it that's a sharp little pebble that I just tossed in my mind. And then it'll bounce around until it's all smooth and I'll figure it out. But I don't put any pressure on it. I just, like now, I'm talking about it, I'm rolling around, trying to work out the ledges a little bit, and then eventually it'll be like, well, that's it, and create it. But
it's a cause set in motion.
Right, yeah. So I like that pyramid of, experience. And I'm going to have you draw, if you don't mind after, I'll have you write that down because I want to do something with that. I have an idea already. Another pebble with sharp edges just got thrown in there. But we'll go from there. Thanks for coming down, man.
My pleasure.
That was a lot of fun. Did you have a good time?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
We talked
Thanks
about
a lot.
some crazy stuff. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for listening. And thank Marc for coming on. Isn't that guy just a wealth of knowledge? Love spending time with this guy, and definitely going to have him back on to see what else he's got rolling around in that noggin of his. And thanks for everybody for the support on the new platforms. Been busy putting out everywhere I can to make it accessible for you guys. You can jump over to my website, waltzkitchentable.com, to see all the platforms it's available. Jump on YouTube, hit subscribe. Would much appreciate it. And, of course, Rishi, jump on this CBD train. Can't go wrong. Go over to liverishi.com. Use the code word table. Show you the love Rishi and I are sending your way. And always looking to have people come on. Interested to coming on? Got a story you want to tell? Or just sit around and bullshit for a little bit? Would love to have you. Best way to contact me is Instagram at WKT Podcast. And, of course, through my website, waltskitchentable.com. Contact button there. So, again, always appreciate the support. Having a good time doing this. And till next time, much love.